Thank you for joining the SYNACT monthly webinar. This month, we will talk about tips to staying safe in a cyber world. Defend, protect, and secure your data. Small businesses are the most vulnerable to different sorts of cyber attacks. These days, the headlines are filled with stories of cyber attacks, but most of us only hear about the big name brands. We don't realize that the reality is most hackers are actually targeting SMBs. 43% of breaches take place at small businesses. And this costs the average SMB $120,000. Can cause a lot of stress for companies that may not have the time or expertise to really evaluate their risks. For example, you're probably busy focusing on running your business and lack the skills needed in-house to really deal with these security issues. One of the best ways to stay secure in a cyber world is with education and awareness. The more you and your team members know about what to look out for and what to do in the event of a breach or an attempted hack, the more secure you and your business will be. In this webinar, I will focus on 3 areas of cybersecurity: password, email, and web browser security, to provide actionable items everyone on this call can implement today and make yourself and your organization more secure immediately. Password security. Passwords are the key to almost everything you do online. And like me, you probably have multiple passwords that you use both professionally and personally throughout the day. Choosing hard to hack passwords and managing them securely can sometimes seem convenient. Fortunately, there are some simple ways to make your passwords as secure as possible. So let's go over some password security tips, right? Complexity still counts, all right? You want to create complex passwords. You don't want to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or password 1. To increase complexity, all of your passwords should be a minimum of 8 characters. The shorter the password, the easier it is for a hacker to figure it out. Also, always include upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and special characters. Avoid single words or your name or a word with a 1 or an exclamation point after it. But to try to make your passwords easy to remember, you don't want to totally overcomplicate them for yourself. I suggest that maybe you use a sentence or a phrase or even lyrics from a song that you love that you can easily remember. Also, take those words that are within that phrase or lyric that you're using and replace some of the letters with characters or, the numbers, so that maybe it doesn't say, happy, it's actually a capital H, @, PP, and then, maybe a 7 for the Y. Get creative, but make it something that you'll be able to, remember yourself. Never use information that's personal to you that other people can get via your social media, like birthdays or middle names, or your mother's maiden name. And also, never share passwords, okay? Keep your password unique to you. You can also use a password manager. Here at SYNACT, we use LastPass as a way to secure all of our passwords and encrypt them so we can easily access them through an authentication like our fingerprint on our phone. But then we also have it available on our desktop or wherever we go and need to access our passwords. Your organization could also set up MFA. And MFA, or multi-factor authentication, allows you to secure things by you having something that you know your password and something that you own, like a mobile device, to double check your authenticity before you log into any sites. The next topic I'm going to cover is going to be email security. Imagine you receive an email that looks a little fishy. In fact, it might appear suspicious at first, but it includes an attachment or a link that contains malware. I received an email recently that looked like it was from our president, Sarah Compter. And in a nutshell, it basically said, your task is overdue, click here now. And had her name as, the front person. But upon looking at the email closer, because it seemed out of character for Sarah to send me something like that, I realized the email did not come from her at all. They just used her name as a mask in the email address so it would look like it came from her. And it was indeed actually a phishing attempt. So by clicking on a suspicious link that contains malware, you become a victim to these phishing attacks. And 90 to 98% of all cyber attacks start with phishing. Today, attacks are so sophisticated that even experts are finding it difficult to detect them. And it's costing companies tens of thousands of dollars per cyber attack. And what's more, these cyber criminals are targeting SMBs more and more to get employee passwords and steal company assets. %60 of organizations were hit by an attack spread from an infected user to other employees. And 51% have been impacted by ransomware in the past 12 months. Think about that. That's over half of small businesses have been impacted by ransomware in the past 12 months. 60% of organizations believe it's likely they will suffer from an email-borne attack in the coming year. This recently happened to one of our clients that had a man-in-the-middle email phishing scam to try to gain access to funds within the organization. And email continues to be the most popular attack vector, or via organizations at their email perimeters, from inside the organization through compromised accounts, vulnerable insiders, and even social engineering. Or they even come from beyond the organization's perimeters. All they need to do is have you click on those links and add that malware or ransomware into your organization's systems, and then they're in. And then they can start to gain access to the other things that they want. One of the best ways to prevent these types of attacks is by educating all employees on how to identify and watch out for phishing and spoofing attacks. So let's go through some email security tips. Don't click links from unknown senders. Links can be spoofed. So always hover over the links and look at the URL before clicking on it. If you're not sure of who the sender is and the link looks a little suspicious, don't click on it. I always say the biggest tip is if it's really important, they're going to reach out to you again. If you think it's suspicious, don't click the link. Go ahead and say, Google search what you're looking for, or go directly to the website of the place that you think the email might be from and look for it yourself. Watch out for phishing and spoofing attacks, right? Many phishing emails are asking you to take action urgently. They're using intimidation, like they did for me. Your appointment's over, your task is overdue. You've got to do something now, right? Scarcity, it's almost gone, right? It makes it look like there's authority there to make you click on the link or give away your personal information. So always be suspicious. and do your own research before you just click on the link. Make sure it's coming from a source that you trust. Never open email attachments from an unknown, suspicious, or untrustworthy source. If you're not familiar with the sender and do not know them, do not open it, download, or execute any files or email attachments. These attachments, as simple as it might seem, could contain viruses that could not only damage your computer, but the entire network within your organization. Immediately move these emails into your spam folder and mark them as such. And again, my number one tip is be suspicious and don't click on the link. If it's really important, that person's going to reach out to you again, or reach out to that person directly and check the authenticity of that link. Always make sure when you're getting an email that's asking you to click a link, or maybe seems a little bit suspicious, look closely at who the sender is. Make sure that email domain makes sense and looks genuine. There's some telltale signs that maybe it's not like a .com or a .net. Maybe it's something a little bit different and off. Be suspicious of it. And the easiest giveaway in a lot of these phishing emails are grammatical errors. Look at the way that they're asking you the question or telling you something. If it doesn't sound like the way that the person normally talks, it probably isn't them, all right? So look for those things. You can always tell when they're coming from another country because the English isn't as we normally write it. And then the last topic I'm going to cover here is web browser security. So 60% of companies have became infected with malware through a web browser, through someone going to an internet site that contained malware within it. And almost a third of companies lost some data through web browsing within their organization. And to see how bad this is, there's 18.5 million websites infected with malware at any given time on the World Wide Web. So just think about that 18.5 million that any time one of your employees could stumble upon, which could then add malware to, not only your computers, but onto your network. So I'm going to go through some secure browsing tips that you can go and take with you again today and enact them that will help you the best you can to try to avoid these websites that might contain malware. So first and foremost, keep your web browsers up to date, and that will ensure that you have the latest and greatest patches for security vulnerabilities. A lot of times when Google and Firefox and Chrome find out about these bad sites or these malware, they put security patches into place to prevent people from stumbling upon them. You'll also get, as a bonus, all the latest features that are available in those browsers. And then once you kind of set it up, it will automatically update anytime Chrome or Firefox or Edge, put out an update that could contain some security patches. When you browse and you go to websites, only visit secure websites. Make sure they use the HTTPS in their web URL. And when you go to the site, it displays the lock icon next to the URL. That shows that they have safety measures in place and it's a secure website. Your data will be encrypted and readable to outside parties if you're not on a secure website. So then if you enter your password, someone else could potentially get your password and then hack you. So Make sure you're only going to those trusted HTTP sites that have the lock. And many times our browsers will actually let us know if we're going to a non-secure site. You can also select the lock icon next to the URL to view more information if you are questioning the validity of a site. Avoid clicking on ads and offers. Those banners that come up when you're doing searching, sometimes they might be reputable ads, but sometimes they might be phishing for information, okay? Clicking on the malicious ads can result in unintentionally installing malware or being redirected to a malicious site, or then enticing you to enter your personal information and then being able to get your other data. A good rule of thumb is if you see a digital ad that really catches your eye that you're interested in, do a quick web search and look for that place directly and go directly through through the website to look at what you're interested in. In general, it's a best practice to avoid downloading and installing software and extensions from websites unless necessary, okay? Be intentional about your browsing. Suspect things. Don't just click on a link because that looks like a cool shirt, right? Look at who it's from, the company it's from, go Google search that company, and then go look at that shirt that way. Don't just, trust any link that comes up in a banner. If you're surfing the web and you see an offer for some free software that looks interesting, again, do your research first. Don't just download that cool free software onto your computer, okay? You want to make sure it's safe and that you're installing it correctly. And always, avoid using public Wi-Fi when you can, okay? Through public Wi-Fi, there could be, a hacker sitting on that Wi-Fi as well that could then access your information while you're sending it over the public Wi-Fi. So thanks for joining us. I hope I was able to share with you some tips that will help keep you safe within this cyber world. Thank you and have a great day.